Welcome to today's webcast, How to Maximize Performance Gains from Your Lean Initiative. I'm Aaron Hand, Executive Editor of Automation World, and I'll be moderating this discussion. Lean manufacturing, total productive maintenance, and Six Sigma are all methodologies aimed at helping manufacturers control costs and continue to thrive in today's global marketplace. It's more important than ever for companies to streamline their business processes, reduce production losses, and continuously improve the productivity and throughput of their existing assets and systems. Though the practices I mentioned provide a good framework for driving improvement, many companies still struggle to obtain higher levels of performance. So today's webinar is geared toward helping you understand how to significantly improve the efficiency of your manufacturing operations quickly, measurably, and economically without disruption or infrastructure changes. We have three experts with us today from Parsec Automation, Corey Vodvarka, Greg Newman, and Christopher Gray, to demonstrate how Parsec's TrakSYS decision support and productivity management solution can help. They'll share a success story with you and explain how to make similar improvements in your own operations. Before I introduce our speakers, I want to let our audience members know that this webinar will also be available for archived viewing at automationworld.com. You'll receive notification when it's ready, and the slides will be available for download from there as well. Today, feel free to ask a question at any time during the webcast, which you can do from the question box on the right side of your screen. We'll take some time at the end of the presentations to address all the questions we're able to get to. So let's go ahead and get started. Let me tell you more about who we have here today. Corey Vodvarka is Director of Manufacturing Solutions for Parsec. A certified Six Sigma Master Black Belt, he has led the global rollout of lean manufacturing and Six Sigma at multiple Fortune 500 companies. He has facilitated and led more than 500 Kaizen, TPM, and Six Sigma projects and transformed organizations to continuous improvement-focused cultures. Greg Newman is Vice President of Marketing at Parsec. A 20-year veteran of enterprise software and manufacturing, he helps ensure that Parsec builds software solutions to meet its customers' most critical needs, and that Parsec makes those solutions available to as many manufacturers as possible. Christopher Gray is an application engineer for Parsec. He's an expert at using TrakSYS as a solution software and assists in training, implementation, support, and minor development at Parsec. He has a heavy focus on the use of databases and Microsoft Access with the use of coding, VPA, and SQI. At this point, I'll turn the discussion over to Greg.
Thanks, Aaron. Hi, this is Greg Newman. We're glad to be here with you today to talk about lean manufacturing and how to get the most out of your lean initiatives. As Aaron said, we have on the call today from Parsec two experts and me. And so I'll start us off with a little bit about Parsec so you understand where we come from and how it is that we've come to learn so much about lean manufacturing and how it has made its way into our software. I found this little tidbit, by the way, when I was researching the topic for today's webinar, and I thought it was interesting that lean was coined in 1988 by John TrakSYS in his master's thesis at MIT. That's cool, something new. I didn't know that before, despite my long experience with lean. Thought you might like that too. Parsec has been in business a very long time. In the computer world, this is certainly a very long time. Since 1987, we've been helping companies around the world, manufacturers with names like the ones you see here on the screen, to make their manufacturing operations run more smoothly, more profitably, more safely. We're in thousands of deployments. We're in over 100 countries and a variety of different industries, including pharmaceutical, food and beverage, packaged goods, automotive, the list goes on and on. What that means, of course, is that we've seen just about everything over the years, and we've developed not only software to help address manufacturing operations management, but also methodologies for packaging and implementing and maintaining that software that merge well and complement the management philosophies like lean. Here's one example of that success. This is JEALSA. They're out of Spain, and we were very pleased to be able to help them manage their operations in a fairly comprehensive way, and the results show how taking a comprehensive approach can really make a difference, a significant difference. A 10% reduction in COGS, that's top of the list. Very exciting to see that number. 200,000 cans per day additional, a 15% increase in productivity. These are significant numbers. They move the needle not just by taking TrakSYS software, our software, and putting it in, but by taking a comprehensive look at their management methodologies, the people, the training, all of the factors that go into ensuring that you're successful. The software, we like to say, while it's very important, we're in the software business after all, so we think it's important. While software is very important, it is not a panacea. It's not a magic elixir. It's not going to come in and fix your problems. You need to address your problems in a comprehensive manner. However, when you have the right software, it can really put your programs, whatever they are, whether it's a lean initiative or continuous improvement initiative, can really put those programs into high gear. With that introduction, what I'd like to do is introduce Corey Vodvarka to talk a little bit more about lean.
Thanks, Greg, and thanks for everybody on the phone call today and joining us for this webinar. We're going to talk a little bit about lean, touch on a few of the tools, and also touch on a few ways that TrakSYS can help support your lean objective. Obviously, we can't cover every way, but we'll hit on just a few, and certainly happy to have additional discussions following this webinar. So just to kind of start off, some of the keys to driving improvement. One is creating value and service for your customers and doing this at a competitive price. To do this, we need to engage our employees, and we can do this by creating visualization, utilizing the visual factory, providing our teams with data, and energizing them to actually make improvements on the data provided. As well, changing the process. So using things like Kaizen approach and TPM approaches to understand root causes, modify the process to make it work better, make it good, and then actually change the behaviors of our operators to sustain those types of gains. And do this by utilizing technologies like TrakSYS to establish critical controls and really sustain the gains of your improvement efforts. All this ties into the result of improving performance and creating bottom line savings. You may or may not be familiar with lean, so I'm going to kind of hit upon the 8 wastes. You know, these are the things that we look at when we walk through a factory to identify where there's, you know, additional costs and that can be taken out of the process and improve the process. So things like defects, creating bad products, scrap, these things can be addressed by creating standards and deploying tools like SPC. Overproduction, so making sure that you're building the schedule and not exceeding what the customer really wants. Waiting, so this can happen a lot of different forms. This can be waiting for product, this could be waiting for machinery to be repaired. Anything that causes waiting in the process, obviously a customer would not be willing to pay for. So having systems that provide real-time data, communication, and decision-making help supplement and reduce the waiting times of manufacturing processes. The other one is not utilizing your talent. So people are a critical role in improving the process, and if you're not capturing the input of the people that are down on the plant floor and utilizing their talents and visibility of the process, we're not getting to the best processes that we can possibly have. So it's important to capture the ideas of the workforce and the required action and following up on those things. Transportation, so again, unnecessary movements associated with moving product around, and this could be moving product to the line before it needs to be done, or going to look for tools and things of that sort. Again, managing inventory. So it's all about reducing the amount of inventory in your operation, operating with the barest amount necessary. Inventory hides a lot of waste, and as you improve your process is you can reduce those inventories that are really holding up cash in your process. Motion, so point of view storage, things like 5S to implement things like shadow boards and reduce that motion of having to look for things. And then extra processing, so doing more process-wise than what's necessary, things like rework. Those can all be addressed with systems, putting the right systems in place to make sure that things are done in a standard manner and done correctly the first time. So one of the tools of Lean is 5S. So 5S is a method of housekeeping and creating cleanliness in your organization, as well as organization of how things are laid out in the facility, things are accessible at point of use, and getting rid of clutter. So it starts out with sorting, eliminating things that are not needed in the work areas, setting things in order, so a place for everything in its place, cleaning the workplace, building pride of ownership, and then creating standards to make sure that things are sustained. So that's the most difficult part of any program, whether it's 5S or a Kaizen initiative, is actually after you do all the work to make it better, how do you sustain it? So controls and standards are necessary in whatever you do to improve your process. That's one of the great powers of systems like TrakSYS, to build controls that help standardize your process and sustain the gains that you work so hard for. Another tool that is heavily used in Lean as well as in TrakSYS is TPM. So TPM is much like the Kaizen approach of making things better, but it addresses mostly the equipment in your workplace. So a way that you can identify if your TPM program is working really well is something called OEE, Overall Equipment Effectiveness, helping measure the efficiency at which machinery runs within your workplace. So obviously TrakSYS delivers a TPM measurement of OEE, but it as well lets you build programs, again, to sustain the gains of your TPM events, where you're going out and making improvements and refurbishing equipment to getting it in its top condition. So once you've done a TPM type event to make your equipment run well, you need to sustain those things with things like autonomous maintenance, getting the operators involved in daily maintenance routines to sustain the conditions of equipment, as well as obviously your maintenance department, who is doing preventive maintenance, predictive maintenance on the equipment, and really as well addressing things like safety of the machinery, things like guarding, as well as training your operators, and of course implementing things like 5S to make sure that the workplace remains clean and organized and creates those behaviors in your operators and your culture. So just kind of a little bit about Lean in terms of what you can get out of it. What does it look like when you couple Lean alone as well as couple it with things like TrakSYS? You know, the system will help you accurately identify things like malfunctioning equipment and identify those root causes that your operators are helping you find on the equipment, so you can address those root causes and make improvements. It also helps you prioritize your improvement opportunities with confidence that the data provided is with good integrity to set those priorities and go out and make focused improvements. It helps you standardize procedures as well as prove the ROI of any kind of investment and work that you put into the process. And at the end of the day, make you more competitive in the global marketplace. Getting a little bit technical about the system, TrakSYS is built on an HTML5 platform, which means it's works with all browser types, and it's responsive. So what that means is no longer do you have to be stuck with a system at a desk to provide data. You can be out on the work floor and actually, when you're doing things like Gemba walks or shop floor stand-up meetings, have that data in your hand to have discussions about what the improvements need to be focused on and what are the root causes and where you can actually go and make improvements to your system. So very useful tool being uncoupled from the desk and having that data available on the plant floor where it's most important to solve problems. So with that, I'm going to turn things over to Christopher to kind of give a little brief about what is TrakSYS and then show you some of the ways that we've implemented lean tools within the TrakSYS platform.
Thank you, Corey. So to get started, I have one slide for you guys before I move into the actual product demonstration. This slide is just going to give you a brief overview of where TrakSYS actually sits within a factory. TrakSYS, we like to consider to be that heart of your factory with a brain that's going to help manage all the information you have and transact that and bring it to the forefront where you can use it and utilize it and get value out of it. So TrakSYS itself is going to sit and function in those areas of managing the information around production, maintenance, quality, and inventory. The way we connect to that is through three main sources. The first one is going to be some TrakSYS connectors. It's going to be that, or there's going to be a system and a service that connects to your outside business operations, things like your CMMS system or an ERP, to pull in relevant information that you already have. Alongside of that, there's additional services that will focus primarily upon OPC that will allow you to connect to your actual production floor, tracking information from your batching, continuous, and discrete processes. That will get you information that you likely don't already have in any of those other systems. TrakSYS will then monitor and maintain that information, and between those two sources, it will then display that information via browsers to users, whether it be in some kind of remote system or a local system that will allow you to make decisions and allow you to do data aggregation and to get value out of the information on your plant floor. Now from here, I'm going to hop into an actual demonstration environment and walk you through some of those screens Corey was talking about. I'm going to explain a little bit about what you're actually viewing on the screen, and then I'll go into a little bit more detail about how this actually applies towards lean concepts. So for example, this first screen here is a full built-out page relating towards an operator interface, something that you can present to an operator in front of their machines to give them a full breakdown of the information going on with their process. On here, you can see a lot of information relating towards events that are occurring, so being able to track downtimes, current production progress, so you can see what they are actually producing and how much they should produce, and immediate visualizations of that event information and the actual KPI values. These are all color-coded to let you know very quickly how you're running even from a distance. Screens like this allow you to view and visualize information that can help direct continuous improvement efforts. By seeing this information presented to you in real time, you're very easily able to reduce waste the waste of waiting, extra processing, and inventory. If you know events are happening, you no longer have to wait to understand what's going wrong with your process. You can immediately take action. You always know exactly what you're producing, so you don't overproduce, and you're reducing the amount of waste that you have. You also reduce extra processing and extra steps by having this information presented to you very easily and very readily on a single screen. In addition to this OEE screen, there's also the tasking mechanism within TrakSYS. This tasking mechanism allows you to present tasks to operators that can be completed on any type of triggered basis or regular basis. These tasks have various forms and can be laid out in various different ways depending upon the need. By having tasks that are standardized, you have the ability to ensure that operators are completing standardized inputs that allow them to standardize the overall process of what they need to produce. This can help to reduce waste of defects, extra processing, and motion. By standardizing the actual tasks, they aren't taking any additional steps that don't add any value. They can reduce defects by ensuring that they are checking only the important aspects of it and ensuring that they don't miss any of it. And it overall reduces the amount of time and the amount of waiting it takes for a task to be complete by having it presented regularly to them in an easy-to-access format. In addition to these tasking mechanisms, anytime a task is failed or is missed, there's the ability to do notifications with them. These notifications can be triggered off of a number of other options as well. things such as specific events that are occurring or specific KPI intervals reaching certain thresholds. These notifications can be sent out in the form of an Outlook email, as well as any other email system. By having these emails sent out, it helps to improve responsiveness for the information. You are no longer waiting, you're reducing that waste of waiting by having this information sent to you immediately as soon as it happens and as soon as you need it. This allows you to react nearly instantaneously to anything that needs to be managed, so you can manage by exception instead of having to look for the information itself. In addition to being able to handle tasks and notifications, there's also the journaling aspect of it. Back to this main page here, there's a journaling section in the bottom right-hand section. As Corey mentioned, one of the wastes is under non-utilized talents. When you don't have the ability to engage with operators and get information from them of the people who are actually working on the floor, you're missing out on a lot of ways that you can potentially improve processes. The journaling capabilities of TrakSYS will allow you to present that information from one operator to another, whether it be an operator to a supervisor or to anyone above them as well. By being able to categorize this information by using different journal categories, these notes and this information can be presented to the correct people at the correct time as soon as it happens. Journal information can be presented on multiple types of screens, and you can ensure that end-of-shift reports get to the next operator, that journal-type maintenance journals get sent to the maintenance crew, and that anything relating towards poor KPI values can be sent to a supervisor who can then take the proper actions. Between all this information on this single screen here, you can see that there's a lot of ways that you can utilize Lean and improve a process just by simply presenting the information and ensuring you have the culture that can adapt to it appropriately. Now, I'm going to go into a little bit more specific tools relating towards Lean implementation. The first one is going to be 5S. This is an example of a screen that can be used to help maintain and improve your 5S implementations. On this screen, you can see I have the 5 different categories: sort, set in order, or sometimes straighten, shine, standardize, and sustain, and the ability to score each of these categories by a specific point breakdown. I can select between these to very easily see the different breakdowns that are relating to it. This screen will allow me to know what exactly consists of a score 1 in the shine area versus a straighten area, to then report that information and then have it plotted so I can track how I've been doing in my 5S implementation. I can also provide journals that will allow me to see what type of changes were made to this 5S as well. This will overall help you to standardize even how you implement 5S and help you reduce the extra weighting and the motions to ensure that your 5S is done correctly. Alongside of 5S, Corey also talked about the tool of TPM. TPM can be covered in a wide number of ways throughout TrakSYS. This here is an example of a CIL type application. This application is having tasks that are generated on a regular basis to ensure the maintenance of a machine after it's been serviced. Tasks like these are very basic, things like being able to clean a specific portion of it. As I click through the different tasks, you'll see that they are presented with different images that can be used for reference by the operator, as well as general information below the image. This allows operators to use this simple task type form to then complete all the tasks when they are needed. Once they are complete, they simply mark it as complete, and it will be removed from the list, and they can continue with their current operations. This type of implementation allows them to reduce the extra processing and allows them to reduce waiting and not having to find information, knowing where everything is immediately by using these images as well, and to reduce motion. Another version of this page would be a more advanced maintenance type page. Pages like these can also be used for TPM by allowing you to provide maintenance type work orders in a variety of different formats. On the right-hand side, you can first see there's recent work orders that can be generated automatically or even brought in from other systems. Towards the center, there's the ability to schedule PMs based upon certain run times of the machine. And to the very left-hand side, there's the ability to do requests ad hoc based upon a current need. This allows operators to immediately contact maintenance to reduce waiting and to ensure that they're not waiting on any downtime more than is necessary. This helps to ensure that the process continues efficiently and to make sure that you're getting the most out of your machines and the most out of your personnel. Corey, do you have anything to add before I bring it back to you?
So one of the things, like Chris mentioned, on the left side of the screen, an operator can actually make a request in the system and it will track response time to the line for the maintenance technician to actually arrive, as well as the time to resolve the issue, so often referred to as wrench time. This is very useful in understanding how you arrange your maintenance part of the organization to make sure they're more responsive. Things like where they're positioned, where their tools are available, things like point of use tools, point of use repair parts. So it's very useful analysis in putting together a strategy to improve the responsiveness of the maintenance department. At the same time, making efforts to reduce downtime on the line. So you're hitting it in both directions. When you do have downtime, I'm addressing downtime as well as how to become more responsiveness to the downtime. So very good lean tool applied there as well. So as you can see, we've covered quite a few different aspects of TrakSYS. We touched on the performance piece, the quality piece, the maintenance piece, but this is just some of what TrakSYS has to offer. Over the years, we've continued to develop the software, working with customers and clients as they ask for more tools to improve their processes and improve the measurements of OEE. We've developed several solutions to really go beyond the OEE measurement. So we just hit upon a few today. Certainly stay tuned for other webinars, and we'll be able to share additional information or reach out to us, and we'll be happy to have a discussion of how TrakSYS can be applied within your operations.
Thanks, Corey. Thanks, Chris. This is Greg. As you can see, TrakSYS can go deep. It can go as deep as you'd like to go to implement a lean initiative. There is a lot to cover. Hopefully we've given our viewers today a taste of how TrakSYS and lean can be great companions, if you will. With that, we'd be happy to discuss and answer any questions you might have. If we're not able to get to questions, all the questions today that are posed, we will follow up and provide answers via email to those participants whose questions didn't get answered.
Okay, great. Thank you, guys. We do have pretty much time here for questions, so I do want to remind our audience members that now would be a good time to enter in your questions. You have a chat box on the right-hand side of your screen where you can do that. We do have a few questions so far, so I'll go ahead and get started with those. Can TrakSYS integrate into measurement devices like scales, that sort of thing, to automatically log the measurements, or does an operator still have to manually enter those?
Yeah, absolutely. We can connect into pretty much any device that is out there. If you have inline scales, we can connect directly to those types of devices to automate the data collection and import process into things like SPC or data historians built within TrakSYS. But if you don't have devices that communicate or systems that might be offline of the operation, those can be supplemented with things like data collection forms to provide information into SPC systems. So we do certainly have the ability to go both directions based on what type of systems you have. But yes, we can connect in and automate through many devices.
Okay. All right. Well, and that seems related to this other question I see here. Does the software interface with other ERP systems like SAP?
Yes, it does. We can draw in information from ERP systems, pretty much all the major systems out there, SAP, Oracle, the list goes on and on. What that does is we can draw in things like schedules, route that down to lines, so operators have visualization of what their schedule is through the day. We can also have the ability to modify schedules and change the order, change the quantities, things of that sort. And then we can write that information back to the ERP systems. What that does, it creates a foundation for additional analysis. The more comprehensive your data is in relation to OEE and other performance metrics, you now have the ability to tie that back to things like lot number, who ran the line, what time of day, and possibly additional inventory information associated with that job. So now you can tie in performance by supplier and again, like lot number associated with products. So yeah, we can certainly connect into the ERP systems and provide now a more comprehensive look as to what's creating performance efficiency or inefficiencies in the factory.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. So this question says, one of your slides mentioned OPC. How about MT Connect?
I'm confused. Could you repeat that last part one more time for me?
Well, just that you mentioned, I guess you mentioned connection with OPC. Does it connect with MT Connect? I'm not sure.
I'm not familiar with that one. I know typically OPC ends up being the standard. We do have some implementations that use various other connectors as well. Most of our tools are aimed towards OPC, but we have done it with other systems. So likely we would just have to go and see that one specifically. Typically we don't have many issues connecting with other types of systems. It's just usually an extra step or two. So I wouldn't be concerned about it, but I would talk to us directly about that one so we can get the information.
Yeah,
Okay.
we have the ability to connect into many different data sources, things like OSI Pi. There's a long list. Neither of us are familiar with the specific name MT Connect, but I wouldn't be hesitant to say that we should be able to connect to that. We can look into that specifically.
Okay, great. Thank you. Is TrakSYS compliant with 21 CFR Part 11?
Yeah, certainly. We work with many of the big pharma companies, and that requirement is necessary for pharma, consumer products, food and beverage. We support all of the requirements of 21 CFR Part 11, things like data signatures, who's done the job, time stamping, data source associated with batch records. We have the ability to restrict access to operators versus things like read, write, edit control, visibility of screens, supervisors being able to possibly edit and separate that responsibility between what an operator is allowed to do and a supervisor. So many tools available within TrakSYS that all support 21 CFR Part 11. Again, several of our clients have validated versions of software, of the TrakSYS software within their operations today.
And to jump in really quick on that last question, I looked up MT Connect very quickly, and based on the information I'm reading, it seems like it spits out an XML format, in which case, yes, it would be easy for us to connect to that one as well.
Okay, great. Thank you for that clarification. So what sets TrakSYS apart from other MES products that are in the marketplace?
This is a good question, and we took a long, hard look at the landscape and the marketplace and how customers were being served before we went about reimagining and rebuilding TrakSYS 10. We are on our 10th version. We came out with it in the fall of 2016 after almost 3 years in development and lots of work with some of our best customers in beta testing. And what we decided when we looked around was that we needed to follow our own mantra, if you will, which is to make things as simple as possible. And that thanks to some of the new technologies that, like Corey mentioned, HTML5 and responsive design, obviously all the web-based technologies that are out there these days, we had a real opportunity to make a great leap forward and to design a system that could move with the same pace that we saw our customers were moving. That is to say, 24/7 operations. People are increasingly mobile. They're operating worldwide. They need information at their fingertips no matter where they are. And we have designed a system that can do those things in a deceptively simple looking package. You know, being simple is hard. It's not easy to be simple. It took us a lot of hours, a lot of development time to boil our system down to one that the user interface is as simple as possible. But, you know, isn't that really the essential lesson of Lean, right? Is that you work hard to eliminate unnecessary motion, unnecessary content, and waste of all kinds. And that's what we've done with our system. We think there's some terrific competitors out there. We know their systems well. And in some cases, we think that they're doing some pretty neat things. But I don't think there's a single system out there that brings together all of these principles in one package. And we think we've done a nice job of aligning, therefore, our software with the interests of our manufacturer clients.
Okay. All right, we've got one other question here. Again, this is we'll wrap it up earlier if we don't get more questions in. But let me ask this one for now. Is TrakSYS available for multi-site deployment?
So yes, TrakSYS can be used in a multi-site deployment. There's two main ways that this gets architected. You can either have it in a cloud deployment or a local one operating over a network. Typically, TrakSYS has different services that will run and ensure each factory can effectively function on their own and maintain their data while still being able to maintain some standardization of formatting between them as well. So we have a lot of tools that make multi-site very, very efficient in both the display aspect of it and the data recording for reporting against it as well.
Okay, great. All right, well, it looks like we don't have any more questions coming in. So I want to thank our speakers for a very informative presentation and also thank our audience members for joining us today.
Thanks, everybody.